What is going on, my beautiful people, man? I hope you guys have an amazing day today, man. God has created this day for us. Let's enjoy it today. In this video, we're going to be talking about how we can get away from identifying with our ego, identifying with the thing that wants us to be freaking negative, that is trying to like pollute our mind, and you might be feeling it right now. This is something that I learned from this book called The Power of Now. In this book, he's basically talking about the fact that one of the things that he talked about that I really think can help you guys if you're feeling like a little bit like your thoughts are kind of running crazy, it's just going back and forth, all this stuff is negative, whatever it might be. He says that one of the things that the ego is going to do is try to get you to identify with it. So when it puts a thought into your head, it wants you to be like, oh, that must be me, so I'm going to identify with that thought, and I'm going to bring this person down because like we suck and like that. The ego wants you to do that. But the more that we can identify with our inner being. Now, I know that's a little bit complicated, but our inner being is basically something deeper than the ego. It's something that we are on the inside that God has created us to be. That is not emotions, it's not ego, it's not thoughts. It's so much deeper than that. And the more that we can get in touch with that, the essence of that we all have, the more that we can identify and be separated from the ego and putting us towards God. That is the best thing that we can ever have. And it's like one of the quotes he uses from Jesus is, if we identify with the ego, it separates us from God because we're putting ourselves towards the ego and away from God. And that is like being a branch cut off from the vine, like Jesus says. The vine is God. God is the ultimate source. God is the ultimate source, and he is the reflection. The more that we can have our essence be reflecting God, which is meaning we have to be able to be present every single day with God, knowing that we can trust him, knowing that he's there, knowing that we're joyous, knowing that we're peaceful, knowing that we're loving. And the more that we can get our being into there, the more that we are tapped into the source. And one of the things that I looked at too is that it's like a reflection of the source. So the brighter that we can reflect the source, the more that it's going to come out in our being. So the source is God, and then he has the ultimate source of light. He's bringing all the light. He has all this stuff. And the more that we can get in tapped with that, which is love, peace, joy, you can literally do like meditations to be able to bring yourself into that love, peace, and joy. And it's not something that you had to consciously think about all the time. That's what I used to think. Like I had to think about God every single moment of my day in order to be tapped in with him. But no. Because you literally can't think about him every single day. It's just not going to happen. We don't have that much like, our minds are going here and there. But what we can do is tap into our inner awareness and our inner being. We start to change our being to be shaped around living in God's presence, which is not just presence and peace, but also the joy and the love. So what I've been doing is meditations. We could go into the meditations, literally just go to your bathtub, search up some YouTube guided meditations, and it's like some stuff where you get tapped into the love. And it's like a feeling that you start to feel where you're like, oh, God, you really love me. I want to love other people. I'm loving today. And it's this feeling that your inner being feels that. You might not understand it. You might not know. You might not be able to remember everything that was said in that thing. But your inner being is getting fed off of that. It's feeding the soul. Feeding the soul. That's amazing, because I think a lot of times we don't always feed the soul. We feed the mind. We feed the body. We feed whatever else we might feed. But we don't feed the soul. And the soul might get starved. But that is something that can feed your soul, and it makes your soul feel so much better because you start walking around your life differently. You start going around and talking with people differently. You start moving in your career, whatever you might be doing differently. You start showing up with that joy, love, and you start feeding off of that. Not only that, if you're feeding your soul bad stuff, like it's just negativity constantly, you're on TikTok looking at all the worst stuff, your soul is going to want to continue to feed on that because it thinks that that's what's getting it going. You start getting happy when you see people failing and when you see people like absolutely getting trashed online or whatever. But the more that we feed our soul the good stuff of God, the more that our soul wants that good stuff. The more that our soul gets kind of like, oh, like, well, I don't want to see that bad stuff out there. Like, I just want to feed it the good stuff. It's not saying that we're not acknowledging the bad stuff, but we can acknowledge the bad stuff and still have hope and joy and peace despite that. So that is what we're trying to do with this. We're trying to identify our being with God and start to feed our being, and knowing that that is what we're identifying. You can have thoughts that might be negative. You can have thoughts that might be like, you might judge somebody. You might feel a little bit angry at somebody. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic and you get really pissed off. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But what we're doing is not identifying with that, because we know that that's our ego. And we can get away from that and towards God by putting our being in God, knowing that our being needs to go to God, and that's the greatest thing for our being. And the more we get towards that, the more we identify with that. You can have a thought that's negative, but know that you're still a loving, joyous person and wanting to get better at being in God's presence. Boom, boom, bam. I love you guys. I hope you guys are doing amazing today, man. Hope you guys are able to feed your soul today. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you going to do meditations? Love you guys. Peace.